I don't think, whatever you want to say, that belief is a choice. Belief in God is a choice, or belief in anything is a choice. I think faith is a choice. What up, people? So, it has been a minute since I've done one of these videos. Typically, I've done, more cinematic type stuff, but after the last video, I got some more stuff that I just want to talk about. So if you're wondering what my last video was, it was talking about why I don't believe in God, and it's up there if you want to check that out and watch it. And I wanted to make this video because since I've been questioning the belief in God and questioning, doubting, whatever you want to call it, my first question when all this kind of stuff hit me was, do I believe in God? Do I not believe in God? What is going on? What is happening? And then I had to ask myself, what is belief? And these words, faith and belief, get thrown around everywhere, and nobody knows. Some people think they're the same thing. Some people are like, no, they're two totally separate things. We just throw these words around like, I believe in God. And then it's like when this argument starts, then they turn to say, well, I have faith in God. And it's like, okay, are they the same thing? Are they not the same thing? Well, I would say that they are not the same. And I say that from a lot of research, a long journey of research that I've done on the word faith and the etymology of faith in, going back to the Hebrew and Semitic roots, and then also the etymology from the Greek word and just all of that in faith, and then comparing it to belief, doing the same thing there, and then actually doing this really cool study on how faith relates to pragmatism. I might do a video on that. That'd be pretty cool. But again, I would say that they are not the same thing, but they are similar. And I would say a appropriate way to word how I think about this is I think that faith and belief are two different worlds, but they're close and they're in the same solar system. That might make sense to you, that might not make sense to you, but that's just kind of how I visualize it in my head once I've done all these studies. So belief is not faith, and faith is a choice. Belief, I don't believe, I guess I should say, I don't think, I don't know. What do I say? Oh my God, okay, yeah, whatever. I don't think, whatever you want to say, that belief is a choice. Belief in God is a choice, or belief in anything is a choice. I think faith is a choice. And so what's the difference that I see between faith and belief? Well, I could go really in depth into it, and I might, if that's of interest to you, comment down below and say, yes, I want to know all about it, because I literally have pages and pages of notes from studies that I have done personally on the difference between the two. But just to sum it up, the difference between faith and belief is when you are in faith, not have faith, not obtain, because that could get into a whole different discussion. You can't have more or less of faith. You're either in faith or you're not in faith, and that will stir up so many people right there. Bring it on in the comment section. Let's do this. But faith is when you are in it. It is when you are completely blind in your intellect, in your mind, in your brain, in your head. It is complete darkness to the intellect. And a definition that I came up with personally when I did all this research to know, okay, this is what faith actually is, I came up with the definition that faith is the willingness to be intimate with the unknown. Because when you go back and look at the words, it's trust, but there's a relationship thing there, all that kind of stuff. And this has no biblical definitions. I didn't look in the Bible for this. And belief is something that is known. Faith is something that's not known, but it's chosen. It's a journey, it's a walk, but belief is something that is known. And belief is something that's known in the intellect, in the heart, in the soul, in the whatever you want to, it's just known. You believe it, you act on it. And faith is an action as well, because if you say you believe something or you have faith in something and you don't act on it, well, yeah. And in philosophy, faith in God and all that can't be justified. And it can't. There's no philosophical argument, or argument even that I have seen for the existence of God. And no intellectual argument for it whatsoever. But I also understand that from the studies that I've done on faith, that's kind of the point. So what do I mean by that? Well, so me and my friend were talking about this the other day, and he was talking about his definitions of what faith and belief were, and I was talking about my definitions and what I thought the difference and relation between faith and belief was. And he told this analogy, and I think many people would relate to this. And so I was sitting in this chair, and he was sitting on that couch, and he was pointing at my chair, and he was saying, now, I believe that that chair is holding you up. And I believe it because I see that it's holding you up, but I don't know the future. And so I would say that I have faith that that chair won't crack, fall, will hold you up in the future. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So you're saying belief is sort of like an in the present thing, and faith is like an in the future thing. But then I thought about, wait a minute, that's just in this dimension. That's in things that we can see. And so I think a lot of people have that definition of faith and belief. They're still stuck in the material world, but we're not talking about the material world. We're talking about belief in God. We're talking about the supernatural things. So when you go in a different dimension, like say he wasn't able to see this chair, obviously I wouldn't be sitting in it, but say the chair wasn't even there, you wouldn't believe the chair is there. Like, and this is why I say it starts with faith and then belief comes after that. And so, yeah. So I said, well, that's in this dimension, but what about in another dimension? What about in like the supernatural? You would have to have faith to come first and then have that, and then at some point maybe the chair reveals itself, and then it's like, wow, okay, yeah, there's a chair there, and then it disappears again, and then you're like, okay, but I believe that that chair is there because I've already seen it, and then you go on another journey of faith, and then the belief comes again. Am I making any sense? Oh, okay, I guess the chair in this scenario would be God. So here's a question. Do you have your belief in God, in a higher power, in a supernatural? And my question to you would be, how did you come to that belief? Was it a journey of faith to get there, or did it start with belief? Because I don't think faith is this, like, I don't think it's something that you can have more or less of. I think that is a misconception that I've seen my entire life in the church, where they say, you got to have more faith. Well, you just don't have enough faith. I think that is all bullshit. It's just not, yeah, I don't agree with it. Faith is a journey. Faith is complete darkness. You don't know how much of it you have or how much of it you don't have. And belief is something that you either have it or you don't. And that's just that. So why am I talking about this? Because in light of my last video that I made where I said that I don't believe in God, I thought that I should continue that talk, that conversation a little bit more, and not do, that cinematic thing and just talk. So in my journey, I know that I don't believe. But when I shove my intellect aside and face that complete darkness, that complete unknown, then I choose to walk in faith. And honestly, I think like when I choose to do that, so when I will talk to God, and I don't even call it prayer at this point, I just kind of like, because it seems too repetitive, it seems too religious, so I just talk. I honestly think I'm just stupid and I'm crazy and like I am going insane, and it doesn't make much sense to me when I do it intellectually. No, it doesn't make any at all. But faith in something requires action, and faith is that blindness from the intellect. It's not supposed to make sense, and I understand that. And I understand that in this journey that I'm in, spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, that it takes faith, and it's going to take that action of faith to really know and completely just rule out that God exists for me. Like I can't knowingly have this like conception of faith that I have found and not actively like act on it to really know, because I don't think any anyone that believes in anything spiritual has gotten anywhere or experienced anything without taking some sort of step of faith. And so I can sit here and I can say there's no evidence for God, none of that, blah blah blah. But I know that I will never truly know unless I choose to take a step of faith. And for me, right now that's just looking like talking in a room by myself, and I'm like, hey, but I'm choosing to walk in that darkness. I'm choosing to walk totally blind from the intellect, because if nothing happens, and I don't know how long I'm gonna do it for. I don't know if it's gonna be my entire life, or in like a year I'm gonna be like, yeah, nothing has happened, so I don't know. I know that I have to do this to totally say, yeah, I don't believe or have faith or anything that of God, that he exists. And it's really, if you think about it this way, it's a very pragmatic approach. And in my study that I did on faith and pragmatism, they are so closely related. Faith is very, very, very pragmatic. Even in the Hebrew, the original Hebrew word for faith, which is only mentioned twice in the Old Testament, just FYI, it is a very pragmatic concept. It is a very pragmatic action. It has to be. And pragmatism, as you know, follows the scientific method, and the scientific method has to do with experimentation. And so I know that if I, just going backwards from that, from the scientific method to pragmatism to faith and belief, I know that I wouldn't even be doing myself justice to say, or I wouldn't even be able to truly justify myself in saying God does not exist if I didn't take that step of faith into the complete unknown that's totally blind from the intellect. I understand that. So, all that to say, I do not believe in God, but I choose to walk in faith towards something that has yet to be revealed to me. There it is. So, let me know what you think about this down in the comments. I am sure a lot of you are going to have a lot of things to say, and it's going to be fun. I love having these conversations. I love starting these conversations, and I love talking about this, doing this, and so I'm going to do a lot more of these videos, and just kind of talk about my journey and the things that I found, kind of stuff like this. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you completely disagree, which probably almost everyone that I've talked to is in a state of like, yeah, I don't agree with this, but I'm like, that's cool. This is what I think. So yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and see you guys later. Peace.